Hey guys, welcome to today's video where I'm going to be sharing some tips to help with reluctant writers. So let's jump in. Hello everyone, long time no see. A lot of stuff happened, a lot of videos were shot that I did not get to edit that no longer makes sense. So I will save those. Maybe I'll put them up next year during the holiday season. I don't know, but finally my schedule is my own again and my editing computer is my own again. But I wanted to jump in again and start making videos now that things have settled a little bit. So I'm going to be sharing with you some of the tips that I have gathered and some of the things that have worked for me and my reluctant writers, because I have two of them, one much more severe than the other, and ranging from little guys all the way to my own experiences writing papers in college. So we're gonna jump in and here we go. Now, my first tip is to make sure that what you are teaching them or what you're asking them to do is developmentally appropriate. If you have a preschooler who's just starting out in the world, you really don't want them doing ditto sheets with pencils, things like that. It's just not developmentally appropriate. I know that like in today's day and age with the whole your baby can read thing, everybody's like newer, faster, sooner. It's just not good for children. What you want to be doing when you're this age is improving gross motor skills, the big movements, and that will lead to an improvement in fine motor skills. So instead of them having them fill out ditto sheets, which are boring, I don't think they should be used at all to teach writing. There are a lot more fun and more engaging ways to teach. You want to make sure that they're getting outdoor time playing, where they are using their upper body strength, developing those motor skills. You want to make sure that they are climbing within, safe, reasonable risk at that age. Climbing, pulling, digging in the sand pit. You want them making mud pies, Play-Doh, and not making the letters out of the Play-Doh, but squeezing the Play-Doh, manipulating it, pulling on it, pushing down, pressing. You want all of those big movements at this age because it's going to strengthen their arms, which strengthens their wrists, that moves to strengthen the hands and fingers, which helps you when it comes down to actually getting to be a writer. Those are writing skills. It may look like just play, but play is absolutely foundational. Maria Montessori knew what she was talking about when she said that play is the work of the child. It absolutely is. This is what you want to be seeing your little guy doing, or your little, I have boys, so it's easy for me to say little guy, but this is what you want your children to be doing. You don't want them at 4 years old sitting down doing worksheets. They're not ready for it. It doesn't really mean anything to them at this age. Letters are very elastic to them. That's why you see a lot of backwards letters. You see sideways. You'll see a mix between capital and lowercase. All of that because it's meaningless to them at this age. What you want is them developing those gross motor skills to when it's time to actually sit down and learn how to write. They have the strength to do so, and they can hold a pencil comfortably. So if you're at that stage, put the pencils aside for now and get them outside playing, get them manipulating things with their hands. That's what you want to see. Play, play, play at this stage. Scribbling is also important. So yeah, give them blank pieces of paper, line paper, the newspaper, they don't care at this age, and let them go to town scribbling. This is a precursor to writing. Don't knock it. Don't think that it has no value. Scribbling, playing, manipulating things with their hands. That's what you want to see in the early stages. So that's the first thing you want to do. Ask yourself, is this something that my child at this stage in their life, is this something that they should even be doing? It's really important that you make sure that you kind of research this area a little bit and make sure that they're getting as much play as possible. Physical outdoor play especially, super important. And actually, as weird as it sounds, helps them in learning later on. My next tip, if you have a reluctant writer, and this is pretty much for younger children, it's to give them creative media when they are doing their writing. Let them use chalk out on the sidewalk. Let them use finger paint. Let them use sand, or even scratching with a stick in the dirt. Let them start there. Let them do something interesting and messy. This will make it more interesting for them and a little bit more sensory friendly for them. It's not as boring. They're not sitting still. And it gets their creativity out. It's a lot more fun. You can even, in the warmer months, give them a bucket of water and a paintbrush and let them go to town on your wall. We have a big brick wall that that surrounds our property. Let them do that, or use your driveway. Dry erase boards with dry erase markers and pens. So yeah, mix it up and give them fun implements and tools to get them to start writing. Now, as we're getting into a little bit older, they know their letters, things like that, but they're still like, oh, I don't want to write. Or what do I write? I don't know what to do. Here is where you want to make sure that you are kind of making it interesting, interest-led, and making it a little bit more fun. Kids at this age love challenges. And one of the things that really kind of got a good results for me and my oldest is free writing. Free writing specifically with a timer. And basically free writing, most of us have heard of this. You get a pen or a pencil, you get paper, and you just start writing anything that comes into your brain. If it's nonsense, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to have punctuation. It's just you writing out whatever pops into your head. This kind of stuff, especially if it's timed, so it gives it kind of like a little ooh, like there's a little bit of pressure there, but in a fun way. And I highly encourage you the first couple of times to do it with them, so they see it and it's kind of a game. This will get them writing and get them out of that headspace of getting something wrong, because there's no rules. It's whatever you want it to be. So especially if you have like somebody who feels constrained naturally in their personality on what they should be writing and thinks that everything they write is awful, definitely give free writing a try. It will take that pressure off, get their creative juices flowing. And one of the things I'd like to stress is that you do not, I wouldn't even read it. I see my son writing, I count that he's writing. I don't read it, I don't critique it. He can write whatever he wants. It doesn't matter. He can say, I don't like my mom. Oh, Siri. He can write, I don't like my mom 50 million times if he wants that. I don't think he's ever done that, but if that's what he's feeling, let him let loose on the page and put it aside once he's done. The point is to take that pressure off and get it to be associated with fun, creativity, and free thinking. My next tip is to give fun prompts. There are a ton of fun prompts out there that you can find online. Whether it's regarding superheroes or special abilities you would like to have, a funny situation involving their dad, anything that you think would spark their interest that they might think is funny, especially, would work really well here. Don't give them boring stuff yet. You know, you have that freedom as a homeschooler. You don't need to be so stringent in the subject matter. Sky's the limit. You just want to get them writing creatively, you know, like getting those muscles, those creative muscles flexed a little bit so that they can come up with a little bit more cohesive thought and be a better narrator in the future when somebody's actually going to be judging their writing. So give them some fun topics, and don't be afraid to get silly. Don't be afraid to get gross. Don't be afraid to get personal. The point is you want it to be interest-led, kind of tailored to your child. You just want it to pique their interest or be an interest that they already have. My next trick, dice rolling. Dice rolling is a huge success here in my homeschool, giving them several options in terms of characters, in terms of plots, in terms of antagonists, in terms of a problem to solve. You give them options for each role. It makes it feel more like a game. It gives them kind of a jumping off point of what they need to write about, but ultimately puts the story in their hands and they can shape it any way they want. So if you're having a lot of trouble with somebody who's just really, really being stubborn about writing, try things like that to where it makes it fun, makes it more of a game and a little bit of a challenge, but also gives them like a proper foundation, like a starting point for them. Now that we're starting to get into maybe a little bit of the older grades, but all of this still applies. And a lot of this can kind of be interchangeable in spite of age. Certainly interest-led writing. It doesn't matter how old you are. You want to write about something that's interesting to you. But as far as older kids are concerned, once you start getting into like the book report stage, the report stage period, one of the things that I strongly encourage you to do is give them examples to see of good writing. If you're writing a book report for the first time and you have kind of very, very little experience to go on of what you're supposed to do, if you're very new to paragraphs and anything like that, let them see what a good example looks like from the simplest paragraph that you write to show your third grader all the way up until you're writing, 1,200 word count report on, Paris in the 1920s. You want them to see what good writing looks like, what a quality report, for lack of a better word, looks like. That way they have an idea of what they're supposed to be doing. Oftentimes it's just like, hey, go write a book report on this book you read. What does that look like? If you've never seen a book report before, how do you know what to do? If you've never had to write a paragraph before, how do you know what to write? If you've never had to write a 1,200 page book report or, topic on something, you have no idea what to do if you've never had to cite your sources. Oh my gosh. The first time I had to cite sources, nobody taught me. I had to figure it out. And I got marked a lot that first report because I really didn't have any idea what I was doing. So give them examples of what quality work looks like. That way they know kind of like they have an idea of what to do. It'll give them a little bit more security and just a good foundation when they start to do their own writing. Another tip for older students who are writing for the first time, who are writing like really large reports for the first time, is to either get them a thesaurus or encourage them when they're writing their paper to open up thesaurus.com and get familiar with synonyms. This will help your writing. It will make it a little bit more interesting. It can help with word count if that's a concern. I know that, as a homeschooler, you might not be so concerned with word count, but certainly when they get to college, they're going to need pretty much any writing assignment they're going to get is going to have a word count. And as they get older and older, they're going to get a lot bigger. So you want them to have a great vocabulary. Hopefully you're reading to your kids on the daily to where they naturally have one. But synonyms can create a little bit more interest in your writing. It will make it seem a little bit less mundane, a little bit less repetitive. It just makes your writing a little bit more easy to read, a little bit more palatable. So get them comfortable with using a thesaurus and with playing with words a little bit. That's something that definitely helped in my writing. So having stuff like that can just little tricks that you can do to make your paper more interesting and a little bit less monotonous certainly helps. Another thing that you want to do is get them familiar with citing sources, looking up sources, and the different formats for citing. There are plenty of books out there that will tell you how to cite a source. I'm sure there are plenty of online sources that will give you tips on how to cite in MLA or whatever format the teacher requires, should they be in college when they're writing this, or if they're taking like an extracurricular at a junior college or something like that. As a homeschooling mom, you might not have those requirements in the things that you are assigning, but you certainly want to get your kids comfortable with those kinds of requests because those will be absolutely mandatory once they get to college. So get yourself familiar with them if you are not familiar with them at all. You're like, what the heck, citing source, what is that? Look it up, get yourselves familiar with those things so that you can get your children comfortable with them. So by the time they get to college, it's easy peasy. You know what I mean? You don't want them to get to college and be completely unprepared. You have to start thinking about the next stage when they're in high school. You need to make sure that you have the proper foundation to teach your children. It's just one of those things that comes with the job. And speaking of which, get comfortable with, get comfortable and familiar with writing formats, get comfortable with Microsoft Word, get comfortable with acceptable fonts in college. It's usually going to be Times New Roman in a 12 font, double spaced, and that does not mean double space hitting the space bar twice. It's completely different. It spaces this way. You coming back?
I'm just gonna go bake real quick.
Okay, don't clean up your mess, okay?
I will, Mom.
Okay, baby, let me know if you need help.
All right.
Okay. So obviously this is going to take a lot of elbow grease on your part if you have a reluctant writer. And some of this stuff isn't even for reluctant writers. It's for any writer. You want your children to be able to make compelling arguments, to show that they understand what they have read, and to be able to develop a cohesive paper that makes sense to the reader. Because it will help prepare them for college. It will make college life easier. This is one of the things that any college student, it does not matter what they major in, they will have to write a paper, at least one, in their college career, and you want them to have a proper foundation on how to do so. So that means you have to do your homework as well. I hope this information was useful and offered a couple of tips to help your child in terms of becoming a writer. It's not necessarily a requirement in life, but it certainly is a requirement in college. I hope this offered you some strategies, or at least a jumping off point, so that you can have your kids writing without it being such a headache for you and for them. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Until then, take care and happy writing. Bye for now.